Welcome back to our flagship show, Fight Card Live. I'm your voice, reporter, ring announcer of Fight Card Entertainment MMA, Showtime Joe Rossi, welcoming you all back here via YouTube, our Fight Card YouTube page, and with me. Not only is he one of the greatest bosses to work for, but he's my brother from my Filipino mother. There's only one, the Vince McMahon of the Midwest, Mr. Brian Angelo. Brian, I want to kiss the screen. I miss you so much. Man?
I've been good, man. I've been very blessed, like I said, guys. Hopefully everybody is still doing what they're supposed to be doing and whatnot as well, too. We are back, like I said, Fight Card Live, and better Fight Card Live this time. This week we are, for the first time, simulcasting on Facebook Live. So we're on our Facebook page as well as YouTube. So we got that, again, I said, working to get more of our coverage on out there, instead with the fans. We have a very
refreshed and relaxed and ready to keep going after a little summer break. And speaking of that, we hope everybody's doing it, like you said, Brian, the best they can and enjoy summer 2020, considering the situation we're all in here.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's been a couple of weeks, guys. We took a little bit summertime break at Summer 2 to go ahead and get some important information, getting to it. We should have some good announcements coming on up as well, too. I even shaved my head, guys. Beard is gone as well because I've just been trying to go ahead and working around the clock to get things working. I've talked to 90% of the gyms at this point right now, and they are still just ready to go, man. And I love the support from all of the fighters and all the trainers and everyone else as well, too. And I appreciate you guys for being patient as well as continuing to support Fight Card Entertainment through this whole thing as well, too. Grippo's on here as well, man. Grippo says, "What's up? What's going on,
Grippo? Mikey? I saw the new bike."
Yeah.
Now, what was the deal? You both got bikes, real quick, on that whole situation.
Yeah, we got a deal done, a good Harley Davidson deal done. So that's basically what happened there. But I'm still playing safe. I'm not ready for Grippo. Grippo's too fast for me, man. But and then so.
What's up, Mikey? I miss you, brother. Hope all is well with the family too, wife and kids.
Yes. So we will have announcements, again, says done through for, but we wanted to come on back live, and we want to come on back with a big show, and we have an awesome guest with us here tonight, guys. Again, we have Mr. Lewis Taylor, who is the Professional Fighters League middleweight champion for 2018. In my opinion, he should have won in 2019, but we'll get into that in a little while as well, too, of how what all happened there as well, too. We're going to get Lewis Taylor on here, and he actually did a post on up not too long ago where he commented about Chicago fighters and how Chicago fighters need to cross-train with other fighters and so forth and so on as well, too, in Chicago. And it got a lot of comments on it. It got likes a lot on it and so forth and so on. So I want to kind of talk to him a little bit more about what it was like as well, too. Joe?
That is definitely something people wouldn't really want to think about when it comes to a specific type of training or mentality, actually being from a certain part of the country and what it means to train there with other people from that same area. We talk about Chicago. What did we talk about? Frank Sinatra said it, my kind of town, right, Brian? Yeah. Not only that, the food. Who's got the best pizza? Who's got the best beefs? We do, baby. Who's got the best MMA? You know where it's at, and we got the best fighters. So we're going to talk all about that, but it's definitely something that is very instrumental in exceeding in the sport that we love so much.
And we definitely, again, I said, wanted to go ahead and bring, again, a great show back with Fight Card Live. We've been took off for about 4 weeks in Summer 2. The UFC has been going on.
Did I say I missed you?
Yeah,
like your ex-girlfriend or what?
The Bellator's got it going on as well too. Combat the Americas was trying to schedule some shows. The Cubs and the Sox are back to playing as well.
The Blackhawks are back. My Hawks are back. Big 4-0 win over the Blues preseason. Playoffs start Saturday. Bring on the Oilers. We're gonna whoop their you-know-what too come Saturday afternoon.
So with that whole comeback as well too, we're bringing on again Mr. Lewis Taylor. Here, he's waiting in our waiting room right now. I'm going to bring him on here. Let's see if we got Lewis. I got 3, 2, 1.
All right.
There he is. Mr. Taylor is in the house.
How y'all doing?
Welcome.
Big Lou.
Long time no see.
Absolutely. How you been, man? How are you and the kids doing?
Everybody's COVID free. We started taking off our own little restrictions about a month ago. The kids were starting to get lazy. It's hard to keep their attention span with school being at home, with no
Yeah.
outside activities. They're used to getting out, going on vacations, going to the movies, So
Yeah.
it's different. As an adult, I feel like we forget that kids is a different it's a different whole category to helping them comp with the new world.
Yeah.
Well, Lewis, I'm going to touch on that real quick. I'm from Park Ridge, Illinois, and I'm sure wherever Brian's dealing with it too with kids. The whole uncertainty of the new school year. I know, at least my school district for my daughter, she's about to start 5th grade. They don't know. They're coming up with an idea: 2 days at school, 3 days at home. Some staff doesn't even want to go in. Let's just hope for the benefit of really what's best happen sooner than later, because that's who we feel for, is the kids, and obviously the whole, as far as the health situation for the elderly, and it's affected them just as bad. But I mean, you think summertime, you think about, it's definitely a kid season, having fun. So we did the best for them this year. But now with school, I mean, the anxiety is through the roof for the parents, and we're all dealing with that. But like you said, it's a whole new different situation. We're all trying to blend in with. So and that's definitely something that I want to bring up with you, with your training, something extra on top of your mentality now that you're dealing with, and your future, Lewis. It's a new situation, the world, like you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no one wants to see, like, as a man and a father, we can deal with us being sick, but it would break my heart to see my baby gasping for air. That's not something I want to see happen. We can't fight. You want to get in there, daddy can't do nothing. Ain't nothing we can do.
That's the priority. Nobody gets sick. But you know what? You can't put all this. I got some personal family friends of mine that are teachers. My heart goes out to them too, because you know what? This is. It's something that nobody ever thought this was going to ever happen in our lifetime. You know what I mean? So
my take on it as well too, Lou, is exactly what you said, man. Everybody wants normalcy. Everybody wants the kids back in school and whatnot as well too. But if one kid gets sick, and God forbid one kid passes away from it, then all of this was not worth it at all, right? All the things to go ahead, it just totally wasn't worth it at all for any of it. So, but again, you talk about, Lou, you talk about your kids, and activity wise as well too. Come on, man, their daddy is like scheduled discipline activity, like for training and
hey, when it comes to, it better than me too. When it comes to your kids, they got us wrapped around our fingers, bro.
You know what? I got a daughter. I got one daughter, and you know what? She's never heard the word no from me.
I tell people,
this, princess. What are you gonna say, right, man?
The best businesses is anything to do with kids, because us as adults will be cheap about things we purchase for ourselves. But when it comes to the kids,
you're absolutely right, brother. All right, so let's go and talk a little bit more as well too. Like, I know, obviously, Professional Fighters League middleweight champion. I was actually hanging on out about 2 weeks ago with Lloyd, with Christian Reynoso, with Quinn Swift, with DeRay Davis. He's gonna get mad. DeRay's gonna get mad that I said his name last. Yeah, DeCarlo Johnson. I was hanging out with them as well too.
Dude,
and we were talking. Yeah, we gotta hit you up sometime. We were talking about you as well too, and how you guys were the beginning of Fight Card Entertainment. You took a big chance on us as well too. Go ahead.
At one point, bro, you probably still have the photograph. You called almost all of those names to the cage. Yeah. You lined all of us up, and you told everybody in the arena, this is the future of MMA in Chicago, brother. And that's crazy. We still there.
Yes. Hold on, Joe, before you go into that. So I did. All you guys that were in, that I said that in the future of MMA and stuff too, I'm going to tell you like this. I am proud of every single one of you guys, but I was most happiest for you, Lou.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man. Dude, I when you won the PFL championship, man, I was the most I'm proud of all you guys. Yeah. But I was the most happiest for you.
And I appreciate it because again, you've been there from a day one perspective. You're gonna be my manager at one point.
Yes.
and the thing is, coming from when you come from being knocked down and written off, and then the thing is, people forget how good you are. Oh, he lost. Everybody loses. My problem was being tossed to the sharks a little early. You know, like my fourth fight was against Joe Riggs on Strikeforce, and that's a uphill battle. I had never been tested, but the minute I lost, they continued to sweep me under the rug. So they never saw me coming. But anybody who knows the fighter I am knew that it was a dark horse in that race.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Louis, we all want to hear, especially being from Chicago, the underdog story as you're explaining yourself right now. But let's start with the whole situation that Brian brought up. We were talking about it right before you joined us on the air here. Let's talk about the beginning days, but also how important was it? We talk about the cross training, okay, with Chicago fighters. How on a different level? And I said fans wouldn't think that, oh, does it matter where they're from? For you personally, how on that level was it important for you to train in that manner?
So I'll say this. The Chicago fight scene is shooting itself in its own foot because of the practices of coaches trying to stifle any cross-training for fear of losing students, which is losing money. And I understand that. But it has to be like Roberto Ramirez, who you have to put to faith in a fighter that the fighter is going to be loyal to you in your gym. If you have to handcuff your fighter in order for him not to be loyal, he's not loyal anyway. It's not in his character. Ain't nothing you can do going to change that. So my point being, you see so many good fighters from Chicago leave and go elsewhere. And then when you see who they're training with, all it is a melting pot of other people coming to their city. None of these fighters have been raised or homegrown in these locations. They're coming from other places because people can't unify. So it's a big problem for me for the future of Chicago MMA, because when I go to, like, me and Bilal, for instance, we lost a fight to Jeff Neal in their gym up there in Texas. So what do? We go down there for a week and train with these guys. You know, if you can't beat them, join them or see how they beat you. You know, and again, when I talk about Bilal Muhammad, for instance, it was such a crazy, chaotic scene for him to even cross-train here. He had to go all the way to Milwaukee where the culture was different. You know, and again, you don't want to keep seeing great fighters from Chicago leave and take the shine away from Chicago. And the thing is, if you look at champions in Chicago, I'm probably the only one who didn't leave and won his title doing it from a gym right here in Chicago.
You're absolutely right. I want to, before you go to continue, Joe, I want to bring that back as well too. So, you know, we were talking again, I said, of just growing up in Chicago, and again, for those guys who don't know, with Lou, again, we were there. Say, like you said, day one and level two. There's so much history that we have with you as well. I remember Unique, again, I said, with Combat Zone.
Yeah.
You know, I could say, and Unique has brought many fighters, again, I said, to Fight Card Entertainment. But again, when he originally came off, it was you, Chris Johnson, and so on. So it's like they came on it with it. You're like the biggest prospect that I remember coming on in back in 2007 was a big deal with you coming on in. And again, me being happy that finally you got that recognition. Finally, you got that step on up as well too, because you saw it with everyone else. I saw that you kind of stepped away from the light a little bit for a little while. I said this just recently that as much as I congratulate your accomplishment, I'm amazed by your journey. I'm amazed by what the struggles that you went through. Yeah, man. No one knows that. Like, no one knows really the struggle to get to where you were and how you were. Just like you said, you were the dark horse. You were thrown to the wolves. You were pushed to the end. You know, as well too. I remember when Bellator came in town, Strikeforce came in town, so forth, so too. And every single time they asked, I said Louis Taylor. And there was a time where you were like all of a sudden like under the radar, and it was like, and I kept asking Neil, I'm like, what? How's Lou do? Where's Lou at? How's Lou do? Where's Lou at? Go ahead.
Yeah, I ran into the problem of being too good for the local show and not being signed to the major show. So just somewhere in purgatory.
You were stuck in the middle there.
Stuck in the middle. And then when the major shows would call me, it would be for like crackhead numbers or crackhead situation. And so luckily I had a strong wife who was still holding it down. I wasn't forced.
Susie.
Yeah, I wasn't forced to like take crackhead money, you know, and put myself in situations that I knew wasn't going to benefit me at all. And you know, I held out on my principle. Like, we trained too hard, put in too much work for someone just to toss us a bone, like they're doing us a favor, and offer us oh, you take this one fight shot in you be in the UFC, but one fight contract at a weight class that's not yours in their
Yours,
country
yeah.
on 4-day
Yeah.
notice. Here you go. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember, dude. Yeah, I know. That's the carrot that they dangled in front of you multiple times. And, you know, again, I've talked about this well too. Those opportunities that are there that, you know, like people either you think about where you're at in your career, you think about where you're at in your training, and then you decide, right? And that's the issue with a lot of young fighters who are new to the game, where it's like, hey, I might never get, and that's what the promoters do too. You're probably never going to get this opportunity again. It'll be there again, man.
But no, I tell people all the time, as young fighters, if you're listening to this, seek out mentors, other fighters who are older than you. Like, I made mistakes, Brian. You saw, we all made mistakes. But again, when you're on that path and you have nobody to follow or to say, "Yo, what do you think?" or phone calls about fights, and the manager should be calling that mentor, and everybody should be on the same page about what's best for the fighter and move forward in that manner. But young fighters, I know you know everybody has to stand on their own 2 feet. In that cage, you fight alone, but it is a team, and you need a strong team, a strong foundation all around you, positive figures. That's the reason I got to where I'm at, is because even though I might have not have had the best world-class coaches or teammates, my teammates were blue collar. They had jobs. They would come off from work and then come help me get rounds in. But yet my opponents were fighting, only practicing with the best of the world. But you can't lose belief in yourself as you look up at your opponents, you know? And I have belief in everybody in my corner, because in Chicago, she's at Chicago Fight Team, where else if I would have went to a different gym where it was 10 other good fighters, I only had to, they were able to just focus on me and my fights when those opportunities came up.
Yeah. And you definitely show that. Again, so Roberto's awesome, obviously, as well too. Bilal, I know Bilal, but Bilal's never had the chance to go and fight with us, because at the time that he was starting on off, that's when we stopped doing shows. And then by the time we came on back, he was already taken on off, right? So I don't really know Bilal. Yeah. But again,
because I made mistakes. So about time Bilal, you know, he came like, not a good fight. Don't do this one. Don't do that one. And fighters hate hearing no. You know, you want to be like, yo, I could beat anybody. And I had to tell him, like, listen, a fight that I won but hurt my career was me versus Adam Majewski. I won the fight, but because so many people were scared of him, that fear passed upon to me. So I'm like, dude, that's only my 3rd fight. I'm like, I need more experience. But yet, because I beat him, now I can't get no more fights.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to get back to that in a little bit, because we're going to go back to where you're at as well too, because so again, you made that transition from Combat Zone to Chicago Fight Team. What was, I mean, and obviously you just talked about mentorship and obviously that brotherhood as well too with you and Bilal. You guys are tight, you know, such tight knit as well too for Chicago Fight Team. I mean, you just talked about being loyal to your team, but being able to go and cross train everywhere as well too. I'm guessing Roberto is totally open for you to go ahead and cross train anywhere that you need to, correct?
Definitely. He never he knows where he's at, and he wants the best for me and all the fighters at the gym. He's not the type of person, no, try to limit us. And that culture has spread, and the loyalty for the people who come to that gym stays the same. We get people coming in from anywhere. Yo, what y'all doing Saturday? Open mat? I'm coming through. Let's work. And that needs to be farther within the city. Everybody should be open to mix it up with one another. Therefore, we all getting better. We don't need to push the fighters out to go to Arizona, Florida, just to get more work and more looks. There's talent here.
Yeah. Can you give a quick plug? Can you give a quick plug for Roberto has an awesome, beautiful, brand new gym that he opened up during COVID-19, by the way. During COVID-19, this man opened up a brand new gym, moved his gym and whatever, blah, blah. Roberto, we give you big props, man. Louis, tell us where it's at. You better know the address, brother.
I believe it's 6519 South Laverne, over in Bedford Park, right next to the Midway Airport, near the Cicero Hotels over there. And if you're not, just look it up on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah,
oh yeah, but
absolutely.
quick, you mentioned Unique Gatherings and Combat Zone, which again, that was one of my first gyms I trained at. We still have a great relationship. He's like a big brother to me. But what happened was the consistent location changes for him while I have fights scheduled. You understand?
Yeah.
So when the gym's out of commission, but I still got to fight in 2 weeks, I need some place that's gonna stay open and where so I can train for this fight.
Yeah. So let me go back to this because you talk about cross training in Chicago, and you know how it is in Chicago, man. Like it's even though you go ahead and cross train in some gyms, they say, yeah, come on over, blah blah. You know some of those gyms that you show on up over there, and then they're like, all right, look, we're gonna show this guy blah blah what we're all about, right?
And
what do you say about gyms like that?
No, that's the truth. That's the truth. And again, I feel like the coaches need to establish a better culture, because it's the coaches who put hits on those new fighters. Don't let that person come into our gym and show us up.
Right.
You know, and so again, I go places where the coaches will push you, away, or the coaches pull back and just let the human, interactions happen. Now, don't get me wrong, when I went out to Texas, I can't remember the name of the gym off the top of my head, but it was no friendliness. And I've been to other gyms where it's no friendliness. But you're training to be a world-class, one of the toughest people on the planet. So sometimes you got to just toughen up, Buttercup, and you got to go through that wall. And if they're going to put a wall in front of you, you break it down, and they'll get respect for you then.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, do you want to add anything to that?
Louis, you were talking about, I mean, obviously taking COVID out of the equation when I want to ask you here. You're talking about the basics of the most important thing. Confidence in yourself, surrounding yourself with the right people, training in the right environment. Can you give us an exact, you being in that position, okay? How would you separate where somebody just wants to make money off of you and use you, or you don't feel comfortable with? What made you decide that, hey, I found myself the right people who actually believe in me, want to see me succeed, and do all the right things going in the direction you went?
So I'll start with lead coach Roberto Ramirez. So, like I said, I was with Unique, but he saw me and Dexter Wright. We were training in a park for fights. And I remember Yusuf, all of us, Jeff Golden, but we were like just scrambling to find some place with mats so we can try to take fights. So Roberto would come in and be like, yo, I always wanted to open a gym. And so from there, I said, do it. We'll be your first students, And from there, that path was started. Second, it was only so much he could take my level of striking. But when I first walked into a boxing gym, which was Windy City Boxing, everybody was trying to take my head off as an MMA fighter versus a boxer. They hated us. Boxers used to literally put targets on us and try to knock us out. But the only person who didn't was Herc Hayes. Now, mind you, I'm just starting to box or learn to box. I knew how to wrestle, and now I'm in here with a 275-pound dude in the ring. I'm like, dude, but Herc and Mike Russo, Herc was really the only person to say, I got you, and help me develop my striking. So again, although he was not my lead coach, when he decided to retire from fighting and started training, and then he went over to Holland and he picked up a whole bunch of tools and knowledge.
Yeah.
And so again, Roberto had no problem. I hired Herc as my striking coach. I still, ever since Daniel Wanderlei left for Duke Rufus's gym, I still never had a rock solid jiu-jitsu instructor. But again, I'm a dog, so I'm gonna do what dogs do and eat. But beyond that, everybody else, Nicasio Sanchez, he again was a overweight Hispanic blue collar worker. I was like, yo, Bilal Muhammad, my ex high school student, these people walking into the gym, I'm like, yo, I need training partners. I had to turn these guys into my training partners. And they became great fighters in their own right. And that's how my circle was pretty much built. And of course, you got to have your backbone.
When the stars align, they align. You know it at that point. But you also know when it's not going to work out with certain people as well. I mean, you wait for the right time and things of that nature. And as we can see, it definitely worked out for you. So that's awesome, man. That's just awesome.
That's huge as well too, Lou, of what you just said right now, and totally encompasses that whole thing of if you surround yourself around success, you're going to be successful yourself, right? You just said that you took two guys that weren't really training MMA, brought them on in, said I need trainers. They were wrestlers or whether they were students of yours or whatever, blah blah. You turned them into training partners, and then they became really good at MMA. Yeah. They weren't even supposed to be in MMA. You told them, hey, I just need people to train with that you trusted to train with. They trained on a regular basis. They loved it, blah, blah, blah. They surrounded themselves around a successful person who was good at the skill, and then they became really good at MMA, Bilal's in the UFC. I mean,
exactly.
It's just off there. That's amazing story, dude.
But Bilal slingshotted over my head somewhere. But the thing is, again, he was able to follow the path, not make the same mistakes I made, pick the right fights. And now we're gonna crack that top 15 soon. We should have been there already, but it's coming. 2020.
Yeah. So going back to this as well too, and with cross training and so forth and so on too, we talked about different gyms. Let me ask you this as well too, because you're talking about 13 years ago coming on up, right? So like when you first stepped on the scene, 2007, I know you fought for us. I believe it was April of 2007. I don't know if that was your very first MMA debut. Was your very first fight with us?
No, it was for Combat Dope.
I think you wanted to.
It was Combat Dope. Yeah. I had a quick one. Then I had two with you guys.
Yeah. So and there were some good fights as well too, brother.
You guys were helping that snake Kevin Chavers with what is it? Whatever.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe you brought that up.
Kevin, you still owe me money, you snake rat.
Don't worry, it's an open forum. Go ahead.
Hey, don't say that we weren't helping him. We weren't helping him.
Let me clear this up. You guys weren't helping him. You were just helping the sport. Let's make this clear.
Yes. I remember, if anyone who remembers that moment, I want to talk about that moment too. I'll tell you like this, Lou. I remember being in that room with all the state and everyone else, blah, blah, and they were like, does anyone have a problem getting a check? And no one else said anything, and I raised my hand and said, I do. I'm like, I want cash right now. And Nilo was like, shut up. I'm like, no, I want to get paid. I got my cash. And use my cage. I was the only one that got paid.
Smart man. But again.
All right, so let's go. Go ahead. So let's go. So again.
Let's swipe left on that subject.
So would you say, so this is again 2013, right? So again, you just said it. You were having a hard time finding places to go ahead and train, places with mats in it. Roberto opened up a place as well too. Do you feel as if, and I say this all the time, this is why it's important to talk to guys like you, DeRay, Lloyd, Christian, and so too, DeCarlo, those guys, you guys who started off right after Illinois first got sanctioned. You guys are the starting point for that. You're the leaders for that next generation of the fights that went through for that, right? Yeah. So once Illinois started having fights. So do you feel as if these kids today, these young fighters who are getting into gyms, and so too, that there's because come on, there's MMA gyms everywhere now. Right? Yeah. So back in the day, I can understand for you and all the rest of the guys to go ahead and cross train and whatever because there were so many places where now today there's places. I'm sure there's not good places to train as well too, right? Yeah. But do you think that makes a difference?
It helps, but it's oversaturated. Back then there was less places. A lot of the karate instructors, everybody, once they start seeing the basically MMA was trending heavy, they start slapping an MMA logo on every building that they could. And you would walk into these buildings and they had no clue. They had no jiu-jitsu, they had no wrestling. They like, but we do MMA. They don't even have a black belt. But anyway, Back then, the crazy part is, if you probably don't recall, us, D-Ray, Steve Colon, and Top, we were all at each other's heads. But again, it took learning, but we were in this journey. And at some point, it clicked after we fought each other and we realized, we already had our fights. We need to help each other get better. And to this day, now I can pick up the phone and I'll go there if they need me, or vice versa. And you wouldn't even think, if you used to be in the audience back in 2013, when we would be at each other's face screaming at you, put us in a cage so we can fight. I'll kick your
Yeah, dude. Oh, that's good stuff.
But now we understand. I'm sorry. Now we understand that it's not us against us. It's us against the world. And you fighters in Chicago, you have to wake up. It's not you against the gym 2 miles down the road. It's you against that dude in some remote corner with nothing. He got nothing, and he's hungry, and this is his dream. It's you against that dude. Look at Khabib and them. They coming from the mountains of Dagestan. But that man, if the Dagestani fighters were selfish like the American fighters, or the Chicago more specific fighters, that community would not blossom and explode the way it has. Why is it exploding the way it has? Because everybody is not trying to tear each other down, but they're all building each other up. They're all supporting one another.
Louis, and on that, that's what I wanted to say. How, as the sport evolved, obviously, do you think some fighters, as the years went on, thought it would be an easier journey because MMA got bigger, they got softer, they see the dollar signs, they see the advertising, the commercializing. Like you said, the guy on the other side of the world doesn't see that. He's hungry. He wants to just fight and win and survive. Guys here, do you think it's been an issue where they say, hey, I'm training in the gym, I got everything around me, but their mentality is just thinking about money and they can never lose? I mean, do you think that's been an issue as the sport got bigger for fighters that have more around them?
I don't think that's the issue, because everybody at the end of the day is looking at the dollar sign. Don't let them fool you. So I think that more for the Chicago, I can train with John Jones, but when I step in that cage, John Jones ain't the person in that cage. It's going to be me in that cage. So if I have to work, because when you in that cage, it's a different world. There's no one to blame. It's you versus him. And any chink in your armor, sometimes you'll find yourself in deep waters. You better be ready to swim. People look at me right now and be like, oh my God, you made $1 million in 33 seconds. I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm like,
no, it took you all those years to make that, right?
But they look at it like, oh, it was easy. Oh, you didn't train. Like, yo, listen, I trained for 25 minutes. I didn't train for 30 seconds. I trained for 25 minutes. And before that, I had 5 fights that year, and a few of them were all dog fights. But people, they pick and choose what they want to see, how that glass of water is filled. You have to wake the fuck up, see the reality. The reality is, I trained to I had my kids in that freaking audience. I didn't want them to see daddy bloodied up. This kid was a 17-1 favorite, but again, I got belief in myself and I know what I'm finna do. I don't care what people think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Louis, on top of that, one more issue I wanted to say, besides saying, it's all about money or being famous, things of that nature. Somebody on the other side of the world, like you mentioned, is drama free. How bad is the drama for your training? I mean, mentally, you get caught up in words or drama or jealousy. They don't see that, these other fighters, right?
Hold on, Lou, before you add on to that. That was what we were talking about with DeRay. DeRay.
Yeah.
But DeRay was having a conversation with us where I would tell him, and we'll say this in a minute, where we were having a hard time, obviously, finding fights for DeRay, right? It's like, hey, dude, nobody wants to get in there, blah, 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 just whatever, blah, blah. But you know how DeRay is, like, you turn a little bit and he's gonna go crank it up to 110. So it's like, hey man, this guy was talking shit about you. and he's like, I'll fight him, I'll fight anybody type thing as well too. And that's exactly what you're talking about, right? Those people putting it in their ear, and then you guys making those wrong decisions for those fights. Go ahead.
And again, there was times when you got these young fighters and they would come into our gym, but this is after, probably I've been in the game 4 years or 5 years, and when these young fighters start coming in and doing all this yapping and disrespecting other gyms and other people's families, we would check them because I'm from the streets. I grew up there, so it's a code. If I'm standing next to you, Brian, and somebody attacks you, I'm gonna help you. I'm not, now. So I need for the person standing. If you're gonna stand next to me, I need to know that your content, that your character is worth me jumping into this.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
And so anybody at the gym needs to again put the art in mixed martial arts and keep it there and leave the street brawl mentality to the side.
Good man. Good stuff.
Well said.
Very well said. So, going back to that as well, too, because I'm going to say that as well, too. You talked about the Adam Majewski fight and how you beat him as well, too, but you kind of put a target on yourself. Well, not a target, but you put a kind of a roadblock in front of yourself because nobody wanted to go and fight you because of this. That's exactly what I was going to say as well, too. Like you talk about cross-training and like I know this as well, too. As a promoter, I'm going to switch hats now, right? So I'm going to switch hats. I'm going to put the promotion hat on. Whenever we're trying to go and match, again, like I said later on, because I remember these back in the day, dude, hitting up, Unique or West blah blah, or even Roberto and be like, hey, we got to fight for Lou. And it's like, dude, like that guy was just at the gym the other day. These guys are together.
Honestly, yeah, you're right, especially on the local scene when you're trying to promote. And again, it all should depend on talent level, experience. Yeah. Now, there's some fights that need to be worth them two fighters coming along because But again, I'm gonna go back to this one. At the amateur level, it doesn't matter. Your record does. It's not people, but like I know, I got people still claiming to be an amateur fighter that was an amateur when I was an amateur, and they still. I'm like, bro, when are you gonna turn pro now? But the thing is, it is hard, but they need to change it from the fight part needs to be taken out and understand we need the repetition, we need the experience, we need the experience. So don't make it so personal. We just gonna fight. It's an amateur fight. It's an amateur fight. One of us will get better. It don't matter. The person who loses, it's no guarantee that he won't take that loss and learn. You have to learn, take that lesson and catapult past the person who beat him.
Yep. Again, talking with that whole group, your guys, that first generation fight card team, you being included on that one too, talking to all those guys, a lot of those guys said that. It wasn't really until their very first loss that they actually grew the most.
Yeah.
All of those professional fighters that I spoke to, they said after their very first loss, like that was when I actually said, you know what? I need to change some shit up. And that's when they grew and they became better, And so that's a big thing as well too. Yeah, and then the promotions, again, so on the promotion side of it, because I remember this as well too, Lou, it's tough. Again, guys like you, guys like DeRay, DeCarlo, or whatever else, Boyd, we had a hard, Dexter, we had a hard time finding you guys fights because of your reputation, right? Because of the records and so forth, or who you beat already. They already know you're a beast and so forth, so as well too. So, that's why we've had two fights with, you had two fights with us, coming around Chicago, but then I knew that it was gonna take off really fast for you too.
But see,
do you feel? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Another point I bring up, which was strange, but when we went to Mexico and I go to some of these other countries, fighters from the same gym will fight each other on those shows.
Yeah,
and beat the dog crap out of each other. Oh no, not even no sympathy, and even then, like I would be when you leave the country and you're around, you'd be like, that's my opponent right there. You're with your opponent like for a week. They don't have the resources to separate you two and to give you your own space and gyms and all this other stuff. you got one mat, one gym, everybody's there, everybody eats together, everybody trains together. We're gonna go fight, then we're gonna get back on the same bus together and go home. So a lot of that is
no, absolutely
the spoiledness, I would say, of the American culture.
Yeah,
And,
no, absolutely.
and I brought up before, you know, I was watching. I see some similarities in what I want to say. One of my all-time favorite movies, and this is a perfect timing that was on. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Best of the Best.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I just like
the other day. You saw it, right? I could watch that all day. I love that. I love a lot of the actors in that movie. I mean, and it proves to your point. You know what I mean? And like you said, you might be training with somebody, but then you know it's a whole different world when you're in the cage with them. How and you said the spoiled of the American fighters. Obviously, and in your opinion, and you've seen it, that's a major issue. I mean, correct? I mean, and a way of training.
It is. But, you know, different coaches establish different cultures. I've been blessed to cross paths with a lot of great coaches. I'm a good coach coming up in my own right, but I haven't.
That's my question, Lou, real quick, not to be rude, because this is what I wanted to say. On top of that, you're coaching now. Are you expanding out of the normality of American training? Are you using other country methods for your fighters?
Eventually, I will, but Chicago Fight Team isn't my gym, so you know, I ride that boat with the captain. You know, you have to respect the captain of the ship. No matter what.
Do you see it going that way though? The sport,
no,
more training methods.
Yeah, when me and possibly Bilal, whomever, business up, and we open up a gym, it will have a different culture because we've had the chance to experience from local around the corner to other side of the globe, and you take a lot of the good things about that, but you know, and you try to format or a system that you feel would be the next leading system for the future. And I believe I do have that patent in my brain and that culture. Once I get a chance to develop it, establish it, and I can't wait to, because I already know I can turn a Joe Schmo into a world champion. But when I get a chance to really put that to work, it's gonna be a beautiful thing to behold. And I'll be sending you plenty of fighters.
Yeah. Hold on. So was that a first public announcement that I've ever heard you saying that you're probably going to be opening, you and Bilal might be opening up a gym in the future?
Yes, it is. That is the first time I said that.
We got to get the cameras over there, Brian. We got to get on location for some interviews.
Yeah. We're looking at property as we speak.
Hey, you heard it here first. Told you that big announcement, Fight Card Live. That's awesome. So hold on, before we go and do that as well too, for those guys don't know this. So Lou, again, you know, meeting guys as well too. You know, we started off in 2006. We were young. We were just like, hey, new to the scene. We were hated on as well too. Whatever, blah blah. You guys took a big chance on us. You young fighters, you young coaches and stuff too, young teams came on board as well too, and took a chance on Fight Card Entertainment. At the time, you know, like I can know, you know, who was just in it for the fight side of it, who was just in it, like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about promotions. I don't want to talk marketing. I just want to go and fight. I don't care about ticket sales. I don't care about whoever else says. I don't care about being on posters or blah, blah. You knew who had a business mindset. And then you knew other people who actually wanted the growth of the sport. And I knew that talking to you, you definitely had that mentality, like the growth of the sport. You did what was right for the sport, not just business. I mean, you just said it, like, don't get me wrong. Everybody, it's all about that dollar. But at the same time, it was also the growth of the sport. You started on off, again, I said, and for those people who don't know, your original name, again, was Lewis Handguns Taylor, right?
Yes.
And then now you switch it to Put the Guns Down Taylor, correct? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, and just to show, again, I said, of why the growth of it. Can you explain? Because I know the story. Can you explain why you changed it?
So, and I still love handguns. You know, it's one of those nicknames that I like. I love handguns, but behind it was the promotion of violence. Even though the truth of handguns you should be able to see, but some people aren't that bright. So when you say handguns, they think 9mm. They think revolver.
Yeah.
It was always a message of handguns. Let's use our hands over our guns, or use our hands as guns. Just say I'm about that life, and I am about that life when it comes to defending myself physically. But behind that was being lost and seeming like I was promoting violence when I was actually not. And then with the escalation of gun violence in my city, and really a lot of people are, they're not affected by gun violence at all. I don't have that luxury. I don't care if it's the shooter, the person who got shot, or somebody's cousin. I somehow I know who, where, what, and it's sad. And again,
and it could have been prevented.
Once I got the chance to travel the world, and you see how precious Black lives are, and you see the stupidity of the culture that is even in the videos, in the movies, in the rap songs, especially. It's a glorification of violence and death and societal degradation. And the thing is, when you continue to celebrate these images, and everybody wants to be the drug, even the basketball players want to look like the drug dealer. When you continue to celebrate these type of people, the culture behind you does the same and the same and the same. And gun violence, again, no one wants to fight. When I grew up, I grew up in the borderlines, but you still had a chance to fight. And then you still had a chance to make a friend out of the person you fought, or make amends, or just agree to disagree. Nowadays, if you bump somebody, step on their shoe, bump their car, the first thing they do is shoot you. They might not even argue with you. They just might shoot you. And again, I just want to say, put the guns down, Chicago. Put the guns down. Put the guns down.
God bless, brother. God bless, man.
And no true words again said. Like I said, we've been in this fight card team has been around for 14 years. Coming this October, we've done over 65 shows. Thank you, sir. And again, you're part of that. If there wasn't Lewis Taylor, man, I don't, again, Fight Card Entertainment, we wouldn't have been around.
Vice versa, brother.
Yeah, but again, out of thousands of fighters that I probably dealt with, again, I've met the ones who are just wanting it for the fighting, the ones who are in it just for the girls, the ones who are in it just for the money. But there's only one Lewis Taylor who speaks about the city and speaks about the world and makes you think that way as well too, man. I'm not just saying that, brother.
I appreciate it.
You think more. You take your platform of where you're at with the MMA scene and what you did, and you speak on out, and people listen and say, "Hey, that's a huge thing to go and change your name because of that stuff as well too, right?" And then make that difference as well too. Lloyd Carter said, he's on here. He said, "What's up?" But he said, "Lou's right. Only people who lived it can understand it, right?" So and that's more or less what it is the fight scene. Someone just said it recently. The fight scene. A lot of the fighters don't come from such a great backgrounds, but they find that platform to go ahead and excel, to go ahead and actually reach on out so the world will know what's going on as well too. But I wanted to state that as well is because, Lou, I know that's your mind. Like I get it. I understand the money. I understand the fighting side of it. But there's a whole nother side to you that people just don't know that's what you really are about. It's the safety of the world and protection of the city as well too.
It is, because a lot of people, when you say put the guns down, they be like, yeah, F you. I'm keeping mine on me. And I'm not saying that don't keep your gun on you, but first you have your hands, you have your own self-defense, learn the art. And you notice something, when you know how to fight, you don't reach for the gun as fast. When you know how to handle yourself as a man, you're not so quick to grab a knife or a weapon. You're like, you know what? I can de-escalate this situation with my own two hands. Now, if it goes somewhere else, I'll be ready to protect myself. But your first line of defense is not a gun.
Lewis, you said so many things that prove that you do what you say, not being a hypocrite. We know that, and that means a lot, not only in life, the business, like you said. And it seems the bottom line is when you got into this, you knew what the most important things were. But then as you got bigger and better, you learned you need to deal with business and money a certain way, fame a certain way. But you cannot lose the grip on the real reality on the most important things, not only in the business, but in life. And for that, Lewis, we love you for it because you are truly someone by example, not for in and out of the cage. I say it so many times about fighters. It's how they feel themselves, not only inside that cage, but how they live outside the cage. And you're truly one of the classiest acts we have, sir.
Brother,
God bless you.
Thank God bless you too, guys. I just try to I don't care how tough we are. Everybody needs to give respect and be respected, to live and let live.
Yeah. And again, going back to that about put the guns down Chicago, I have invited Lewis Taylor probably out to all of our fights at Joe's Live over at Rosemont. And he says, Brian, I don't even go out, man. He's like, I love to watch the fights. I love to support you guys, but I don't want to deal with all the other bullshit.
Yeah. I be popping out, but not as much. And as I gotten older, I just try to, and even I've missed funerals, all type of things. But at some point, especially during the years of PFL 2018, you had to put blinders on. You had to put blinders on distractions. And you got to focus and the thing is, you got a little devil on each shoulder. You got an angel and a devil, and at times, that devil might be like, "Yo, who's gonna care if you miss one practice?" But then when you get in that cage and you win, what if it was that one practice that helped you win? That's
yeah,
it's a domino effect. Right. It's a domino effect, and it's exactly like we say, how you represent yourself in and out, and you got to stay consistent. Consistency is a big key, not only in training but in life. Absolutely.
Lloyd wanted to add on to your comment, Lou. He said, when you know how to fight, you really don't want to fight for free.
No, that's the line I use whenever I go to black picnics. They all looking to fight. I'm like, look, man, I'm not here to fight for free. I'm gonna call the cops on you.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna call the cops just like Karen. Just like, get up out of here.
First one. You just made a semi-accidental announcement with possibly opening up a gym with Bilal. So the big question, guys, said with everything that you're doing as well too, and again, just of how much of a your morals and everything else is what's going on in the world, and even in just Chicago alone, and again that presence and how you are for standing up to the city of Chicago. What's next? I mean, obviously, and I want to add on to it, you are the 2018 middleweight champion for PFL. You should have done the 2019. I don't know. I remember you told me not to announce that or not to say anything, blah, blah, because you ended up withdrawing from the tournament in 2019.
Well,
because of New York, right? New York.
Yeah, New York. They changed their Well, they didn't change. It was something with the medical, and so at that point, I had just won and I was already licensed. So when they brought that up for the next season, which I was already cutting down to 170 because they removed 185, I didn't want to get into some type of legal battle. I wanted my check. I wanted my money. I didn't want them to be like, oh, well, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go left. Y'all go right, and we're gonna call it that. Because the thing is, I had LASIK eye surgery back in like 2007 or something like that. But in the state of New York, you can't fight with LASIK. If anybody who knows New York knows that New York got into the MMA game late as ever, and they created their own rules that no other state has, just because they're New York. But again, I was honest with they asked me, "Have you ever had?" I said yes, because I had never heard that was a thing.
Yeah.
And but it is a thing, but only in New York, and that's that. But again, I just rather not fight in New York and keep fighting rather than go to some legal battle and try to prove to them why I'm still getting hit in the face. What difference is getting hit in the eye make?
Right. Yeah. Hey, so I know that obviously PFL and COVID-19 we're all.
Oh yeah, what's next? What's next is probably gonna be RCC, which is I would say small, but small on a global scale of promotions that most people know. Big as far as the events they put on and the money they pay.
There you go.
So again, at this point, I'm 41. I would say, yo, everybody like, when you retiring, when you retiring. I'm like, even when I've lost my last fight, I didn't get like, oh, he needs to retire. And I'm not trying to look for that he needs to retire moment either. But I'm also not trying to pimp myself out, for less money, just to fight. So again, a lot of interest in me is foreign, for France and Russia and some of these other countries that want to bring over, solidified world champions for their up and coming fighters and for their future fighters. Because again, at this point now,
Yeah.
I've earned gold. At this point now, I've earned gold. So they can come for it, and beating me now means more. So pay me correctly. So that's all I'm trying to do. For sure.
That's it.
Tell PFL to come to Chicago, dude, to do a show in Chicago.
Bro, they did one. They did one, and it was trash. But again, I don't know who organized that. It was a shit show.
Yeah.
Next time they come, though, I'll make sure that to link them with the right people.
You got that
and everything. I talked to I think who's the right person, because I was like, what are y'all doing? And I'm like, you come to Chicago, you don't even talk to they didn't talk to nobody from Chicago at all. They just did their thing from Vegas or somewhere and then put the show on here.
Yeah. That's what they think.
Well, here's one thing. We haven't been, since March 1st was our last big fight card sellout we've had. Lewis, for sure, wherever the roads lead, once we're able to, either in Chicago or Brian is working 24/7, 365 to get us back for fighting. Wherever we may be, you need to be there with us.
I will be there. That's my word, Brian. I will be there.
And
that's
maybe
That's our video.
Hey, I know that Caesar watching, because if he wants a fight, put him on the card too.
Yeah, right. We don't got Lewis Taylor money. What are you crazy?
I'm gonna give everybody options, man.
Hey, we gonna make it happen. Hey, we make that opponent
solve. Hey, Lewis Taylor, guys, again, said thanks so much, man, for being here as well too.
Thank you for having me.
Say hello to Susan and the girls as well too at home.
All the best, Lewis.
Yeah, man, I miss you.
Appreciate you guys having me on. I can't wait to see you guys. Best of luck to getting these shows started. COVID didn't make anything easier for anybody, but inshallah, God willing, we all get back to doing what we do the best, and that's have fun in the cage, entertain people, and make successful promotion, have successful events.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes. Thanks so much, man.
All right, have a good day, fellas. Follow me on.
Take care, Lewis.
Put the guns down, Taylor, on Instagram. All right.
Yeah, there you go. So again, guys, Lewis Taylor, again, awesome to have him on here.
We always say, like I say, I talk about some of the fighters we deal with. He knows how to handle himself in and out of that cage, the way, his mentality, his lifestyle. We need more of that in this world, for sure.
Yes. You know what? Again, like I said, these guys were young. He just said he's 41 years old. That means that back in 2013, or sorry, 2007, when we first came onto the senior 13 years ago, these guys were young, right? They were young, over 22. And a lot of them had that young mentality. They're in their 20s. They're just like fast life, fast cars, fast money and blah, blah, blah. Lewis Taylor was always grounded, man. Like, he was always grounded. He was very professional. I wish we had more like interviews done with him back in the day, because he's no different from how he is now. His same mentality of family first. I remember, because me and Neil went to go meet with him that time when we were going to talk to him about management, And it was all about his family. He's like, Brian, it's all about my family. It was great. It was perfect. Again, he really encompasses a class act when you have to think about it.
And not only him being young, I mean, he's still young now. Hey, I'm 43. We're young, all right?
you got old. You got old. I'm young.
41 now. So happy birthday a couple weeks ago, of course, to you, Brian. I reached out to you on that. We hope you had a good birthday, 41. But my thing is on that is not only was he younger then, the sport was evolving. So it's like jumping in the water and not knowing what direction to go, how to paddle, how to swim. You had to learn as you went. But he had a mentality already, and he stuck with it. And that's what we said too. Consistency and learning how to deal with as you grow and not losing, you have to learn how to use the business end. You have to learn on the management end, but he never let go of the original most important thing. Like you said, his family, his character, his beliefs. That is what really put him through. And in some of the dark times he had too, he said he never gave up on himself. That's the most important thing. As he grew, the sport grew, and he knew how to deal with it. And we need more of that in this world, for sure.
We do. Guys, like I said, we are back Fight Card Live every Thursday. This is wrong. It's supposed to be at 2 p.m., right? We're on 2 p.m., isn't it?
We're on 2 p.m. now, man. It's okay, though. We've been gone for a little while.
Were we on 4 p.m.? We were on 4 p.m. before?
We used to be on at 4, but we're going to be on at 2. Are we good? I'm good with 2.
I thought it was 2. All right, so maybe we'll go later. It's been such a long time, guys. Again, it's been nothing crazy. We should have some good announcements coming on up. I have been very busy as well, too, guys. I spent, just to give you a little heads up as well, too, outside of me hanging out against it with all the Fight Card guys over the years and so forth and so on, a couple weeks ago, we have a big project that we're working on. And then also, I did some recon work, I guess, where I had to be incognito with my hat and my sunglasses on, blah, 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 to go ahead and do a big picture. I'm hoping, I guess, that we get some conversation, an announcement on that as well, too. But, we'll be back on Fight Card Live every Thursday. I guess we're staying on 2 p.m., but we'll get back together. Joe, want to go ahead and let us know now? It's good seeing you, brother.
That's it. Like I said, all our fans, we miss you the most. Without you guys, we wouldn't be going through this thing. You're our motivation to stay strong, our fans, our fighters, and, of course, the Fight Card Familia. My dog Chicho gets excited, too. If you hear the dog in the background, he's here from Florida. But the most important thing is we got to stay through this together. We will be back to the way things were. And until then, we're going to bring you the best entertainment, keep you updated with our fights, our shows, and anything, ideas you guys have, you like us to see us do that we can. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all our social media. I'm Joe Rossi. It is my honor and pleasure to entertain all our fans. Brian, it's my honor and pleasure to have you as my co-host, our flagship show. Till next Thursday, 2 p.m. And I believe, real quick, Brian, Monday, Tuesday, we'll have some idea, or sooner. We're always talking on improving things before. So that's what's important, to follow us guys on all our social media for our next topic and next shows. So we should have some kind of idea early next week or maybe sooner for our next week's topics and events. But we'll always have our status on our fights, fighters, and, of course, our guests. So absolutely. Till then, I'm Joe Rossi for Brian Angelo. God bless, be safe, and we love you guys.